Right now, somewhere in the world, a phone is ringing. And for one person, it means everything they've built just collapsed. But for another, it means everything they've ever dreamed of just came true. Now, I want you to strip away the outcome for a second, because neuroscientists will tell you something really strange about this. The brain of the person who just lost literally everything and the brain of the person who just won everything, for a few minutes they're in almost the exact same state of absolute chaos.
We're talking the same racing heart, the same flooded mind, the exact same loss of control. I mean, we always assume success and failure are complete opposites, right? Well, they're not. They are actually the exact same test, just wearing two different masks. And over 2,000 years ago, one of history's most debated ancient texts pointed out that the person who passes this test isn't necessarily the one who wins. It's the one who remains completely unshaken either way.
So there's actually a specific ancient word for that unshakable state. And by the time we wrap up this explainer today, you're not just going to know the word. You're going to know how to actually live it.
Most people kind of assume the biggest battles happen out there in the real world, like a rival, a crazy deadline, a bad diagnosis, or a harsh rejection email. But honestly, long before any of those hit, a smaller, invisible tug of war is already happening right inside you. It's anger versus patience, fear versus courage, the overwhelming urge to grip things tighter versus the wisdom to just let go. And just notice for a second how much power we quietly hand over to external validations. Seriously, one bad comment ruins your whole morning. One like on a post feels like this massive hit of dopamine. Or one no from someone you really admire, and suddenly your entire week just tastes completely different.
Now today, we usually call this being sensitive. But ancient sages? They called it something else entirely. They called it being ruled. And not ruled by the world, but by your own reactions to the world. They asked this profound question that still cuts incredibly deep even today. What if the ultimate goal was never to control what happens to you, but to actually stop being controlled by how you feel about it?
This whole idea actually has one of the most famous origin stories in human history. Picture this. On the ancient battlefield of Kurukshetra, a fierce warrior named Arjuna is standing completely frozen. And it's not from cowardice, no. It's from something way more human. It's grief, it's doubt, it's the terrifying, crushing weight of a decision he just can't take back. And in that moment of total paralysis, his guide, Krishna, doesn't say, "Hey, don't worry, you'll win." He doesn't tell him it's going to be easy. Instead, he gives him this advice that honestly sounds almost unreasonable given the chaotic circumstances. He says, Samatvam yoga uchite, which basically translates to equanimity, that evenness of mind. That itself is yoga. We're not talking about physical poses here, not the incense or the yoga mats. It's about finding that absolute stillness underneath the storm. Basically, he tells Arjuna to act with literally everything you have. Give it your all, but, and this is absolutely crucial, you have to release your grip on the final result before you even begin. Why? Because the very second your inner peace depends on a specific outcome, you've already lost something massive. You've lost your freedom.
To put this into perspective, let me tell you a story about a guy named Araf. So, for 6 long years, Araf was building his company out of a tiny one-bedroom apartment. He had absolutely no funding, no safety net. It was just this one idea that he honestly believed in more than he believed in sleeping. And investors kept saying no, 23 times in fact. And every single rejection felt like solid proof that he just wasn't good enough. He got to the point where he was checking his phone obsessively, almost like the very next call would finally validate who he was as a person. Then, on a random Tuesday afternoon, the 24th call came in, and it was rejection. Final, definitive. Hearing those words, "we're passing," well, it landed like a heavy verdict on his entire identity. He literally just sat on his apartment floor for 2 straight hours staring completely blankly at nothing.
But here's the part that most people really don't see coming. Fast forward 3 months. After quietly reworking the whole shebang with 0 applause, another call comes through. And this time, it's a yes. Actually, not just a yes, it was massive funding way beyond anything he'd ever imagined. But in that huge moment of triumph, Arav noticed something really strange happening inside his own body. He had the exact same shaking hands, the same racing heart, that exact same feeling of losing the ground beneath his feet that he had when he was rejected. It was just inverted. So instead of crushing despair, it was wild euphoria. Instead of feeling I'm worthless, his brain was screaming I'm invincible. And the crazy thing? Both feelings felt like the absolute truth, but neither one actually was.
He was actually his mentor, this wise old professor who had seen literally hundreds of founders rise and fall, who dropped this life-changing advice on him. He told him, listen, the rejection didn't make you smaller, and this new funding, it doesn't make you bigger. You are the one constant sitting right in the middle of both of those things, so don't hand yourself over to either call. Now, Araf didn't just quit chasing success after hearing that. If anything, he went after it even harder. But the real game changer was that he stopped needing it just to feel whole as a person. And strangely enough, that's exactly when his work got incredibly good. Because he wasn't operating out of fear anymore. He was finally working from a place of true freedom.
So here's the kind of uncomfortable truth that our story really points us to. Most of our suffering, it doesn't actually come from what happens to us. It comes from that massive gap, our intense attachment to how we insist things should happen. We constantly crave praise, right? So the second we face criticism, it becomes completely unbearable. We chase comfort, so any discomfort feels like a cruel punishment. We so desperately want certainty that every little unknown feels like this massive danger. But this ancient idea of Samatvam, it doesn't ask you to just sit back and want less out of life. It actually asks a much sharper question.
It asks, what if your inner peace wasn't held hostage by outcomes you literally can't control? Think about it. What if absolutely no amount of praise could artificially inflate your ego, and no insult could puncture your self-worth? See, a lot of people mistake this for detachment, but it's not detachment from life at all. It's actually being free enough to finally truly live it. So how do we actually put this into practice? It comes down to 4 actionable ancient steps. Number 1, feel the emotion, but don't fuse your identity with it. Number 2, name that feeling before you react to it. Number 3, do the hard work, but make sure you release your grip on the result. And number 4, always remember the constant, which is you, underneath all of the noise.
Look, the world is not going to stop changing. That was just never part of the deal of being human. Some days you're going to win, and some days you're going to lose. Some people are going to completely understand you, and others, well, they never will. Some phone calls will absolutely break your heart, while others will make it sore. But if your peace depends entirely on which call comes next, you're going to spend your whole life just waiting anxiously by the phone. This concept of Samatvam offers us something way rarer than just a temporary victory. It tells us to live fully, to work with absolutely everything we have, to love without holding anything back. But never, ever let a single outcome define who you are. Because at the end of the day, the real battlefield was never Kurukshetra. It's that quiet split-second moment right before you answer the phone. And the greatest victory any of us can ever achieve, it isn't out there in the world. As the text says, Samatvam yoga uchite. Equanimity, that unbroken evenness of mind, that is true yoga.
So, if this explainer shifted something inside you today, even just a little bit, go ahead and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this reach more people who probably really need to hear it right now. And definitely subscribe if you want more of these ideas, where we break down ancient wisdom for modern life in these explainers. Before you go, I really want to know, when was the last time a single phone call, a random message, or just a fleeting moment knocked you completely off balance? And how did you bring yourself back? Let me know down in the comments, because I seriously read every